Our guest today is Eldad Postan-Koren, the CEO and founder of Winn AI. Winn offers a real-time AI assistant that helps sales teams win more deals with less hassle. Before starting Winn with his co-founder Bar Haleva, Eldad was the COO of Dream Med Diabetes, responsible for the company's initial commercialization efforts, and worked at Our Crowd, a company enabling accredited investors to invest in startups. Eldad also founded two NGOs, Shavuot and The Sky is the Limit, and is a proud veteran naval officer. In this episode, we talk about Winn's approach to helping sales teams win more deals and make salespeople happier. We also talk about how reaching out to 200 people for customer development before starting Winn helped Eldad in unforeseen ways, and what lessons from the Israel Navy he currently applies as a founder. Eldad, you've been a sales leader yourself, you ran sales teams. What kind of things did you see that hindered the efficiency of modern sales teams, and how can Winn help?
So basically, I think that the first thing that I saw, not as a sales leader, but rather than as a sales person, that sales is all about the energy, the pace, the EQ, the IQ. It's all about that. But I would say 20% or 25% of the day is all about the manual work. It's about inserting data to the CRM. It's a send follow up email. It's all of those things that people who like to sell don't like. And that was for the first aha moment, which made me think about this situation. And the second part was when I became the head of sales of the company that I used to work with. And then I discovered how difficult it is to create alignment between the different team members. And when I say alignment, it's alignment about the messaging of the company. How do they qualify leads? How do they do discovery and so on? So I went and spoke with smart people, and they all told me, write a playbook, write a playbook, write a playbook. So I wrote a playbook. And the day after I wrote the playbook, nobody used the playbook. And that was the second aha moment, because I said, how many cases, how many VP sales, how many CROs tried to put into place the playbook, but nobody used it. And those two were the aha moments, the problem of the salespeople and the sales leaders, and the way that Winn AI can help them all. It's actually the two sides of the same coin. Because on the one hand, we want to help the sales leader. On the other hand, we want to help the salespeople. And Winn AI is all about a real-time assistant, which really helps first to define what is the playbook for each and every call for the sales leader, and then to see to create the alignment between the different team members. And second, in real time, first to help the salespeople to make sure that they are covering everything on the agenda. Second, capturing the notes that they should take and connect it with the right talking point. And third is to push everything to the CRM. So the overall idea, once again, is to remove and erase and eliminate the manual work of the salespeople, and on the other hand, create alignment. So those are the two answers to the two problems that I suffered from.
And now you figured out those problems. What kind of solutions did you decide to build for them? And why specifically this part, say, of everything that you could have automated or could have figured out some efficiency improvements for?
Yeah, so we went on the real-time assistant because we felt that in real time, you can really affect the sales process in real time. Because I believe that no matter what the direction of the humankind going to be, I think that there's going to be no replacement for the way that you and me and people come together and speak, because this is the most intense opportunity to switch ideas, switch data, and it's not similar to any asynchronic situation like messaging or emails and things like that. So we decided to be focused on real-time assistant for salespeople based on the real-time conversation that's happening between the customer or the potential customer to the salesperson. So the way it works is we are a Zoom app. We are an official Zoom application that runs on top of Zoom. And based on the predefined agenda or predefined playbook that was defined for discovery call, negotiation call, closing call, whatever it is, we, based on the conversation, knows to make sure that the salesperson cover everything, as I said, and second, take the notes and connect it with the right talking point. So this is the way it works today. It's all about, once again, conversational intelligence and real-time intelligence that happens during the meeting itself.
So that's the perspective of a salesperson. Salesperson can use this as a guide to guide them through the conversation to make sure they don't forget about any important points, that they mention all the important value points, value proposition of the product. How does it look like from the point of a sales manager? What's the sales manager role in Winn AI?
So, as a manager myself in the last 20 years, I can tell you that the first thing is that I want as a manager is that my people will be happy. So I think that the first value proposition is, less manual work for your people. Your people will be happy. And this, the initial reason why they came to work in sales is to sell product and not to fill out the CRM. But second, when you have good data in the CRM and when you make sure that everyone covers the playbook and the agenda and the adoption rate of the agenda is high, for sure, your win rate will increase. For sure, your forecasting ability will be improved. So you as a sales leader, you will be way successful than you are today.
I sometimes heard from the sales leaders at different organizations when they're offered a new tool that improves productivity by introducing some better adherence to the playbook. They sometimes push back saying, "Oh, I have this prodigy, this great salesperson that does great without strictly following playbook. I don't want to ruin their success or their efficiency by introducing the playbook." And I always tell them that, yeah, right, those few people who can do that may be wonderful, but the rest need the playbook. Otherwise, they will fall behind dramatically. What's your approach? Did you encounter that type of feedback, and how do you approach it?
But I want to take it one step further. But I think that if you discovered this golden salesperson, the Midas person that everything he touch becomes gold, maybe you should adopt the playbook according to the things he does, or he or she, of course. And I think that measuring your playbook and guiding your salespeople in real time according to the playbook, this is the best way to measure. Okay, maybe my playbook is not working well. Maybe I need to change it accordingly to this amazing person. So once again, I'm a great believer in EQ, but I'm a great believer in science. And I think that many of what we do is science. And if we can multiply and copy paste and do things similar to what other people do and do it well, there is no reason why not to do it.
After you install Winn at the customer, how does the salesperson process change? What new things they now need to do, and what things that they used to do they now don't do or do less?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the first thing is that we try to change the workflow as less as we can. I truly believe that we should not change the workflow of a salesperson because people are used to work as they used to work, and I don't want to bring another platform that they need to log into, and that's a hard, it's a heavy lift. So because of this mindset, I think that one of the reason is that we are a Zoom app, so we are to some extent an augmented reality on top of your Zoom and augmented reality on top of your CRM. So you are doing nothing, like you're turning on the app and that's it. It works. By the end of the conversation, automatically we will pop up a new window. We call it end of call window. But once again, you don't need to go there. We will pop up it automatically. And all of the data from the conversation gonna be there. And this is a slightly different from the way people work today because they're done with the conversation and then they move to the other call and they do other things. We truly believe that to incentivizing people to fill out the CRM after the call is done, to incentivize them to send a follow-up email just after the call is happening. I think that that's the best practice because we utilize the momentum of the end of the call. And when you done something to do something, you're this is the situation where the data is the fresh as it can be, and the other side is willing to catch the ball as much as he or she can be. So this is the reason why we pop up this end of call window where you have all the data. Of course, you can go back to this window if you have back to back, and that's also part of the day to day of the salespeople. But this is basically it. Like you have assistant on the call, you have end of call window, and that's it. That's the switch and the change that we did in your day to day life. But from the value proposition point of view, in 4 minutes, like after the call is done, you have all of your notes taken, playbook covered, data in the CRM, and follow up email sent. So just imagine doing this 6 times a day, 5 times a day, and how much time we reduce it from being 20% of your day into 5% of your day. And it's amazing. Like you have time to do more prospecting, you have time to do more demos, you have time to be with your wife or with your husband, whatever it is, all good. But I want to help you to win more, and we're gonna help you to focus on what matters most, which is selling, not everything that is not selling.
Everything around it. And you need to see the app in action, the Winn in action, to really appreciate how helpful it is to have this augmented layer that guides your salesperson. So video is worth 1,000 words, and you can find those videos on Winn AI website. So I recommend everyone to check them out. You said you integrate with CRM to put the data back in. What other important integrations and useful integrations do you build?
So we're now building. Also, we're gonna support also the rest of the video conferences and also the rest of the dialers. This is planned for this quarter, and I think we also have another integration coming up soon. But I think that from the point of view of the very basic, I need integration for your video conference or the way you communicate with your customers and your CRM.
And in terms of the customer profile, who would benefit most from the platform?
So today we believe that salespeople who runs a very transactional sales, have 4 or 5 calls per day, the value proposition for them will be the strongest. From the point of view of the alignment and sales consistency, we believe that somewhere around the 10 plus salespeople is the sweet spot. Like because before that, it's not such a big problem. So you needed to have a sales team of 10 plus salespeople, transactional sales, HubSpot Salesforce, and working on video conference.
Industry doesn't matter much as long as
Yeah.
the pace of the sales is that one that you said, more or less transactional way. And you also talk about CRM history training in your materials.
So this. I don't know if history training will be the way that we form it, but I think that one of the things that is really important for training our AI model is to understand what worked and what didn't work, like what notes were great and what notes were not great. So each and every call is like when the salesperson is done, we are looping in and checking if our notes were right or not wrong, and if they were wrong, or he or she added additional data. So we put it to the model in order to improve it. So I think that's super crucial in order to make it better and better every day.
Constantly collecting the feedback.
Yes.
And in terms of the implementation process, how easy it is, is it to implement Winn and at the organization?
Yeah, so it's really easy. It's really easy because you need to sign in with Salesforce, you need or HubSpot. You need to make sure that the Zoom app is working. So from the point of view of the integrations, that's very easy. The point of view of the playbook, we need to define with you, and you need the sales leader need to define the playbook in advance. That's take 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And of course it's customizable all along the from now on. And then we need or to get recordings in advance, or to work without generating the results from day one. And then we give time for the algorithm to learn the calls and learn based on the notes of the salespeople. And it takes a couple of weeks. And then if we have recording, so we can start right away, and then we are up and running.
The playbook part can take 20 minutes, but I imagine it can take longer if organization hasn't been keeping it playbook at the level or at fresh and updated enough recently. Did you see a case where implementation of Win would be a forcing function for organization to rethink their playbook or update it?
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why we built the playbooks all around different templates. So we have 10 different templates, from challenger selling, medic, medpic, band, spin selling, and many other sales methodologies or sales mindset that we built the playbook around, the playbook builder. So it's not you're starting from scratch, you're starting from grade, I don't know, 10. So you have a small delta to fill in. But yeah, I think that facing yourself and asking yourself, okay, so what's the playbook for the discovery? What's the playbook for negotiation? What's the playbook for demo? I think those are great questions. And for more mature organization, those are given. But for a young organization, sometimes this is something that also a value proposition that we help them to design it.
And then how do you define or measure the success of Win's implementation? What is the great implementation for you?
Great implementation is a implementation that salespeople like what to use Win AI. And the moment that I see people who use it every day, every day, every day, every day, several times a day, and once again, it's a beta version. It's not, we are not 5 years on the road and everything is perfect. So when salesperson use it 5, 6, 7 times a day, it's a good way. It's a good signal. That's first. And the second thing is when it's broken, and I don't know, we have a bug, we have a problem, and immediately people tell you, "Hey, we have a problem." It means that it means something to people, and it's not nice to have. It's relevant, and it's important. So I think that's those are the two main, from the point of view of user engagement. From the point of view of things that we measure the number of edits on the end of call, the timing of how much time it took people since the moment the conversation is done till they put everything to the CRM. So those are the things that give us a good indication that we managed to create an impact. And I think that's the holy grail yet to be proven, is improving the win rate. And we truly believe that a higher level of adoption rate of the playbook will result in better win rate. But once again, this will take us a little bit more time to measure and to prove.
It's easy to see how it can take a bit of time to see the results in practice, but at the same time, it doesn't take much of a leap to get to this from the first principles. It's just like implementation of CRM. Obviously, if you implement a CRM system, it will improve your results. And in the same way, if you implement a system that will reduce the bureaucratic load on your sales teams, if the solution will improve adherence to playbook, even maybe design of the playbook and force the questions of how do we design the playbook, how do we learn from our best people, and how do we spread that knowledge and make sure that everyone follows that
Yeah.
playbook. Those things seems to inevitably lead to improvements in results. And yeah, nobody these days would even start thinking about CRM as should I install it or not? Will it bring me results or not? It's a no brainer. And eventually, and that's a question to you, eventually, I think that's the aspiration for Winn AI to become the same type of no brainer solution that everyone just understands. Yeah, that's how it should be run. And of course, results will be there because otherwise, it's just you cannot run the sales team without the product.
I want to take it even one step further also here. And I think that we live in a digital times, and the way that the fact that the two of us got to know each other on a digital space, and we are communicating on a digital space, and both of us are surrounded with so much data. It doesn't make any sense that any digital communication kind of form would not be augmented. And it can start with sales, but it can also go to telemedicine. It also can go to support. It can also go to HR interviews. Every semi-structured conversation, why not to use your data, the data that you have? Why not to use the intelligence that we have about the situation? It just makes sense. And I think this is taking what you described and take it wider. I think that every digital communication in the future will be augmented. It doesn't make any sense, it won't be. And the idea is to be the pioneers of this revolution.
That makes sense. And taking even step further, every in-person conversation will be augmented after we've got the augmented reality spectacles.
That's a great question, and I don't know if we will get to the point of of meta and things like that. So I think that to some extent, many of them sounds like science fiction. But I think that today the reality is that we communicate. Like most of the communication on Earth, or I don't know that around us, happens on a digital channel. So it just makes sense to augment it, and you don't need to augment it with Google Glass. You know, you have Zoom. Why not to use it as a platform for augmentation?
You don't need to wait for augmented reality science fiction come true. You already can start augmenting the digital conversations. Got you. How do you use Win in-house, and how does it instruct your roadmap and development of the product?
So we are using Win AI with every of our sales call. Fortunately or unfortunately, or I don't know, the go-to-market team is still small. We just have a few team members. So most of the team, we are overall 25 people. So the overall team are mainly technical people, developers and product and people like that. So but we use it on a daily basis. I love to use it because it saves me time and it helps me. Sometimes people, I tell people that I created Win AI for me, for people like me, and I use it on, I don't want to say hourly basis, but I have, like, I would say 3, 4, 5 demos per day. On every demo, I'm using Win AI. And it really helps me to see, okay, here we were capturing well, here we are not capturing well, here the integration with the CRM needs to be tweaked a little bit, and things like that. Yeah, so I think I'm a great believer in dog footing.
There are a few other companies doing something in productivity space for sales teams. So I'm curious, what are the differences from your approach, what you do versus what they do?
I think that first, many of them, and that's funny because when you say real time assistant, it can say so many things to so many people. And one of the first thoughts when we say real time assistant is real time cue cards and real time butter cards. And I can name you at least 10 companies that I know of who are doing real time assistant equal real time cue cards and real time butter cards. And These were one of the features that initially we thought about, but we understood that knowledge in organization, knowledge about competitors, knowledge about the product, knowledge, overall knowledge is a problem of itself. And to solve how to frame or how to generate content and how to keep it updated for organization, it's a big problem. And how to make sure your salespeople are updated and knowledgeable, it's a different problem. And to solve those two problems in one product, that's too much. So I think that that's the first differentiator. The second differentiator, I think it comes from the fact that we are, and once again, I don't want to say that the other people are not, but I'm a true believer in listening to the market. And we've been working very closely to the market with design partners from day one. And today we work with 8 design partners. So the idea is always listen, always listen, always listen, always listen, and change it accordingly to the market needs. I don't believe I know that in the early steps, many entrepreneurs are fell in love with the product. I'm trying to avoid this mistake.
Were there any surprising ways when you worked with the design partners about implementing Win and the impact it has on their organizations?
I think that many things surprised me. I think that the first thing that was a bit of surprise is the amount of no shows, by the way, that salespeople suffer from. And it's amazing. And the benchmark in the industry speaks about 20%. I've never yet seen someone whose the no show is 20%. The percentage are much higher. So that's first. And it's it was a surprise. And I think I don't know if other things surprised me. That was one of the main surprises that I faced in the last couple of months.
Okay, let's talk about the AI models powering Win's capabilities. Were there any important recent innovations in AI that benefited Win that made Win possible?
Yes. So in the last couple of years, I think one no, I think what one of the main things that happened is the improvement of the accuracy of speech to text. And we saw those on the different models and the different on different companies that the speech to text accuracy is getting better and better and better and better every month. And I think that COVID help with pushing this really further and making it, it's not perfect but for sure, but it's getting really better. And also, translating from one language to another in real time, those are all new technologies that came to life in the last couple of years. So from the point of view of NLP and speech to text models, I think those are the big enablers of Win AI. And when we felt that okay, that's a good time to start a company like what we're building.
And in terms of the build buy decisions, how do you approach building the AI systems? Do you take open source models? Do you take commercial models? Do you use APIs from other foundation or platform types of AI companies?
Yeah, so we use a combination of several sources. Some of them are off the shelf. Some of them are algorithms that we develop on our own. One of the challenges for us is that there is no a huge number of sales calls that are available to the public, so you can train your own algorithm on that. So this is the reason why we have built our own algorithm that can fit a very small amount of calls in the beginning. And of course, as we go along and as we get more and more and more and more and more and more and more customers, the idea is to bring more and more big data models that can fit to production. So for now, it's a combination, and the idea is to change the mixture along the way.
Change the mixture towards having more in-house or relying more on third-party product?
So I think that the fact that the moment that we will have more and more data, we will be able to use more third parties products.
Having little data for the sales calls is one of the challenges. Any other important challenges that the team had to overcome to get Winn to the current state?
Sales call are very could be very flexible and fluid and dynamic. So it's not necessarily a Q&A situation. It's not like in this kind of situation that you ask me something and then I answer. This is like super structured. Sales call not necessarily sounds like that because, for example, I can ask you as a salesperson, how many employees are you? And your answer will be 20 employees, but you can also answer me 20. You can also say, I have 20 employees without me asking you anything. Or I can even, so just let me make sure that I saw that you have 20 employees and your answer will be yes. And I just gave you like four different examples when the bottom line is similar, but the context and the understanding will be very, very different. So I think that's also a very big challenge that we need to overcome on our platform.
Having this flexibility to be able to extract relevant data in
Yeah.
whatever way it's been captured there.
And to understand context.
Let's talk about the origins of Winn. What became the trigger to start the company?
So once again, it goes back to my personal experience as a sales person, as a sales leader. The frustration of filling out the CRM day after day, or at least what I should have done, and the frustration from chasing people to make sure that they do discovery well, that they do qualification well, and my willingness to be there with each and every one of them on the call, but I couldn't be on each and every call. And lack of adoption of the playbook, these are the things that gave me the very strong two motivations to build Winn AI.
And what was the thing that, say, got you over the fence where you had the idea,
Yeah.
but that's not enough? You need something that would trigger you to say, yeah, now is the time. Okay, I'm doing it for real. What was that thing?
So it was a combination of I left the company, the previous company that I used to in on January 2021. And I had the initial idea of Winn, but it was not 100% mature and baked. And so it needed a more ideation and more validation. So part of that year that I took off without salary, without nothing, and taking the leap of faith, I went and spoke with more than 200 VP sales and account executive, and I heard similar things coming one after another on many of those calls. And then I made like mock-ups, and with those mock-up I came back to the people, and then they told me it's bad, it's not good. And then I came back to the scratching and thinking and brainstorming, and then I came back with the second mock-up, and they said, okay, that's interesting, let's dive deep into that. So I think that that's part of ideation and validation and brainstorming was a very important thing that I felt that this is the direction I need to follow.
How did you go about putting together that group of 200, say, customer development contacts? Lots of entrepreneurs struggling with that type of thing. So, how did you manage to do that?
That's my superpower. I know how to get to people. But once again, it's not a rocket science. I believe that you need to build a list of people you want to approach. You need to think and check your personal connection with someone who knows someone who knows someone, and be ready with what I'm going to ask my friend to send to this third person. And it should be easiest for my friend to just forward it for the third party, and then just take that. It's like a sales process, hold the process, make sure that you are answering fast, make sure that you're keeping the connection, keeping people in the loop. So I think that this is how I got into 200 VP sales. Many of them became, by the way, advisors or investors or other partners to this journey.
This is an unintended consequence
Yeah.
of talking to them, which is actually quite fortunate. Did you have to go cold calling, so to say, cold emailing, reaching out to people you don't know at all?
No, no. In this kind of situation, I think that, hi, I'm Eldad from Israel. I have idea, but I think that usually in these cases, when you have no brand, you have nobody knows nothing about you. The easiest is to at least look for a warm introduction.
Dig your network deeper
Yeah,
and find some people who can help you with that. That helps to have a wider network, and your 20 years of managing people, I
yeah.
think, yeah, allowed you to build it.
No, but by the way, I think that's also very important is always keep in mind that your background can come back to you. So if you were doing shitty job as an officer in the army or in the navy, not necessarily people will willing to help you 20 years after because you served in the navy with them. So also, it's integrity is something that you build along the way and along your career, and it will come back to you like karma. And if you have no integrity, it will be bad. If you have good integrity, it will pay off and in a good way. So also something to consider.
It will pay back in unexpected ways,
Yeah.
and it cuts both ways. That's a very good advice that everyone should remember, that we're playing long game. Okay. And now you figured out that you have something, that you have an idea, and you think it's worth starting a company, but you also understand that it will need application of AI. AI is a new, fast changing field. How did you go about making sure that your company has necessary expertise, necessary capability of building a product in AI?
So I think that bringing the right people to the table, that's crucial. I think that, consulting, whether when I say bring the right people to the table is hiring, but it's also getting people as advisors, and to bring the brightest people as you can, for the most relevant people as you can to the table to sit with you and to make sure that you're working on the right direction.
For those first few initial hires, what did you look for in those people?
It's funny because the first thing that I look in every hire, but especially in the beginning, was good people and people that I want to work in a personal level. That's first. Second, I think that since we understood that we're gonna dive deep into the world of NLP and the lingual arena, so we looked for relevant people with relevant experience in this area. So this was our number one criteria or number two criteria for people.
Good people with a deep expertise in NLP.
Yeah. But and once again, it sounds ridiculous, but the number one criteria was people that we would like to work with. And sometimes it's taken for granted, but I think that's the first principle.
Yeah, I don't think you can over stress the importance of your first few hires to be the best people you can get on your team.
I agree.
It all goes from there, either uphill if those are the great people, or downhill if the first hires were the wrong ones. And yeah, it's they either empower you and multiply the energy of the company, or they suck the energy away if they're in the wrong fit. And your first customers, did they come from that list of 200 design partners? Did you have to reach out to them? Yeah. So that's another way how the design partners help.
For sure.
Okay. I think we've got a playbook. Now, for starting a company, you reach out to 200 people, and that's how you get your advisors, your investors, and even your first customers. Now, when you're building the team, and it's 20 people, something, 20 something, it's not
Yeah.
that large, but still, it's already a sizable team. It needs its type of culture, types of processes to work efficiently. How do you approach this? What kind of culture you want to build at Win?
So I think that the three main aspects that we emphasize the most is first to be bold and to try to do things that people never tried to do before or were very skeptic about doing. And you can look at the technology that we develop, you can look at the product that we are building, and you can look at the brand that we are now building as well. And I think that bold is a main characteristic. And I think that second is to do whatever it takes. So not only to be ambitious, but also to dedicate all the resources, focus, energy, everything in making this happen, no matter what gonna be the challenges along the way. So those are the two main things. And I think that also a very important thing is to be transparent and not in a cynical kind of way, like being transparent. I believe that if you keep frustrations inside about your partner, about your friend, about your whatever it is, in the long run, it won't last. And if you wouldn't have open communication channels, and if you won't be able to say, "Hey, listen, when doing this and that, you made me feel that," I think that you won't be able to survive the world of startups. So being bold, being doing whatever it takes, being transparent. I think those are the main three principle where we're trying to build the company around.
Ambition, grit, and candor.
Yeah.
It is all three are extremely important. Can't agree more. Let's talk a little bit more about you personally. You already mentioned that you're a naval officer. So I'm curious what kind of skills that you learned being an officer in Navy and now apply to Win.
So being a naval officer is not a regular officer, and I will try to explain why. When you have your 10 people on the ship, and the ship, just to give you a framework, we have small ships here, battleships in Israel. So it's around 45 people, and it's around 150 feet. So it's not big ships, but it's not the small ones as well. And on each ship like that, you have around 10 officers and around 40 soldiers. And you can just imagine how much pressure when you leave 24 hours and you go to operations in enemy countries, and that's a lot of pressure. And you need to maintain this pressure, you need to observe this pressure, you need to handle it as an officer, as the leader of the department. And I think that that's part of the things that gave me a very solid background to be a leader. And that's one aspect. The second aspect is, and once again, I never served on the US Navy. I can just give the perspective of the Israeli Navy. When I went to operations and things like that on the other side of the sea, many times I didn't get enough tools and enough replacement equipment, so I would be covered for 100%. Actually, I was covered for around 20% of I was responsible. I didn't say that, but I was responsible for all the technology on the ship. So from the point of view of replacement, I was covered for 20%. And many times I found myself improvising during being in front of a very different shore from the Israeli shore. and I need to look for solutions. Not to say, okay, the radar is not working, or I don't know, the anti missile is not working. That's not a good answer. And you need to solve. You need to solve the situation. You need to be a solver. You need to be an enabler. And I think that that's also something very strong that I learned from being a naval officer.
It teaches you stay calm under stress and being a solver, fixer, finding quick solutions to the multiple the things you never encountered before.
Yes, and I think it's not only being calm with when everything is stressed. Is more than this. Is how to work and how to solve problems between people and how to solve the pressures between people in order to be able to move forward. So it's not only being, calm. Sometimes you don't need to be calm when people are fighting or you're fighting with someone. But there is the understanding of how to win those situations, and how to straight up things between people, and not to keep everyone with his own frustration.
What are your main takeaways? What's your recipe for that? How do you do that? How do you manage tension between people when they're under a lot of stress? That tension grows extremely and sometimes can spill out into the aggression, into the behavior that you don't want to tolerate. What's the right way to deal with that?
To shut up. No, but truly, like being silent and listening, and not solving sometimes the problems, and but forcing people to solve the problem is sometimes much more strong than providing the solutions and being brutal. So I'm very much trying to listen. I hope that I'm a good listener.
Did it take you some time to develop that listener skill or it came naturally?
It took me time. I made mistakes. I hope I learned from them.
I think in a lot of cases, for a lot of entrepreneurs, the passion for product, the passion for customers, the inventiveness are their strong suits. Sometimes you hear less about the ability to hear as a strong suit of a founder of a company. So in your case, it should be different with your team members,
I don't know. You should ask them.
right? Okay, sounds good. Another side of you is social entrepreneurship. In 2011, you started The Sky's the Limit and then Shabbat in 2018. So I'm curious, what was the driving force behind that work and is still a driving force behind that work? In social endeavors, results can take longer, not necessarily being seen immediately. So, what drives you to keep working on this in the long run?
It's interesting to try to analyze the psychology behind why, but I think that the main reason that drove me building two NGOs, it was almost 12 years ago till today. I think that's the main reason is my tendency to take responsibility. I'm not a person who would see something just near him and would say, "I'm not related to that. It's not something that I care about." I'm not this kind of person. I'm the kind of person who says, "I do have responsibility for my neighborhood. I do have responsibility for my city. I do have responsibility for my country." Why do I feel responsibility? I'm not 100% sure. Probably something in my structure of my personality, but I do feel responsibility. And when I do feel responsibility with the combination of willing to build big and to make impact of the word, I think those are the main reason why I started the first venture. And then it was not very much successful. So we were up and running for 10 years. We died during COVID, part of the outcomes of this pandemic. But but we were not able to get to masses and to make a huge impact. And those are the things that I took into consideration building Shavuot with my wife Ronnie 5 years ago. And we thought, okay, how we can make this a huge thing. And I think that we are on track on building one of the biggest NGOs in Israel, and hopefully to make a very a big impact on the world itself.
What is your approach now to Shabbat? What do you want to build in the end, or say in the next 5 years?
I think that Shavuot 100% should be one of the leading NGOs in Israel. 100%. And we have the potential, we have the ability to make it happen without a doubt. And I think that in 5 years from now, we also should start build our global network. But once again, we should first be like very big organization in Israel, working with thousands, and 10,000s of girls every week, every day.
Talk about the mission of Shabbat.
Yeah, so Shavuot, which means in Hebrew equal or worthy, means it's a leadership program for girls that based on research that was done in Stanford University that shows that girls more than boys tends to blame themselves when they fail. For example, when they fail a math exam, they will say, "I'm not good enough. I'm bad at math." And boys will tend to say, "The exam had mistakes. The teacher was wrong. My parents are idiots or whatever." And this tendency to look at failures as fatal goes on the other side on a very similar direction, but opposite. Like when a girl get a good grade on an exam, she will say, "Okay, it was a easy exam," or "Everybody got great grades." And this tendency really changed the mindset and really changed their decisions along the way. What I'm gonna learn, what I'm gonna work at, what positions I'm applying to or not applying to. And we truly believe this is one of the main reasons why we have today difference between men and women. And the way that we tackling this problem is by teaching young girls how to set goals and how to debrief themselves. For example, okay, I want to get 80 in this exam by the end of this month. So what should I do in order to do this? And when I get to the end of this month and I get 75 or D or F or whatever it is, I'm trying to debrief myself. Okay, I did this and that and that, and that was wrong. So next time I'm gonna be that differently. So it's a different mindset from saying, okay, I'm not good at math, rather than, okay, I should do things differently and let's plan the next time. So it's a growth mindset. And so this is how Shavuot looks like when we do it in very, very big amplitude. Today we have more than 3,000 girls on a weekly basis.
How can people learn more about your work there? Is there a website?
Yeah, shavuot.org. It's quite straightforward.
Okay. I'll link it to the show notes so everyone can go and check it out.
Sounds good.
Let's talk about the future now. What are your long-term goals for Winn AI, and how do you see the future of the company?
I believe that every semi-structured conversation which is customer facing, from sales development to support, customer success, whatever it ends, should be augmented by Winn AI. And this is what we're building from the land and expand point of view. From the point of view of the market, we plan to work with thousands and more than thousands of customers. We want to be commodity. We want to be the natural and the natural sales tech as people use today. And when they say, well, we're selling through Zoom and we are using HubSpot or Salesforce, and that's the standard, we want to be the standard of this sales technology.
Standard of the sales technology stack. That's a great future because it will remove so much headache and unnecessary manual work from the activities of the salespeople and improve the sales outcomes for everyone. What would be your advice to entrepreneurs building business powered by AI today?
Validate the problems before you're building something, validate the solution before you're building something, and validate the business opportunity.
There are so many new things that the technology can do that you can get carried away with the new functionalities or new opportunities. And you might think, yeah, this is a great thing. Everyone will love it. And you will think that until you hit the actual customers and hear the real feedback from them. Okay, how can listeners learn more about the company? Where they can follow you on social media?
Yeah, so I'm very active on LinkedIn. Some people may say I'm too active. No, I'm joking. On LinkedIn and Twitter, that's also great. Of course, we have our website, which is win.ai, win with two N's. That's basically it. I think that's enough for a first step.
Yeah, sounds good. I will link those to the show notes. By the way, speaking of your activity on LinkedIn, LinkedIn became quite a active social network. I think. How do you see its importance in the overall communication space for a B2B company, SaaS company?
LinkedIn is opportunity and danger. You can be carried away with wasting tons of time on being there, but it's a true opportunity because from the point of view of social selling, I'm being able to communicate with prospect and potential investors without and updating them without updating them in the face. So I think that that's amazing. The opportunities are awesome, but be caution with your time. You know, it's a very, it could be a time trap.
Yeah, a time trap. It can be indeed. It also applies to Twitter as well, as one quickly discovers going deeper into using it. Okay, Win AI is hiring, and what kind of open positions you guys have? Where can people learn more?
We have all of our open positions on LinkedIn. We have backend and front end and data engineers and SDR and all over the place. Go ahead and check our open position on LinkedIn. Would love to get your application.
Sounds good. Okay, Eldad, thanks for joining me today. It was great catching up.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.